Hey fellas, been giving some things some thoughts, and I wanted to share it with everyone. What I've been thinking about is synchronicities among how things are going right now and pretty much all over the world, more or less. Of course, some areas are worse than others, and either way, every individual, every group, every country, city has their own problems, anyways. That being said, there's this common occurrence in history where you have certain groups, cities that go through times of despair and destruction and political turmoil. Given that a lot of this stuff is happening right now, obviously none of this is new. We're used to this as human beings. We have it throughout our history. Most of us live it in our daily lives and we see it at least once in our lifetime. It so happens to be particular for people right now, especially if you probably born, I'd say, early 80s, you've seen some shit, most likely. If you were born before that, definitely. Of course, each individual, given their age, will see more or less. Once again, it's peculiar or particular for this generation because even if you are as young as born in the mid 90s, you probably already also have seen some shit. But going with, I guess, one of the previous themes of what I believe I described as the great cosmic pendulum that goes up, down, left, right. It doesn't go in any particular left to right pattern. Some of you might have heard that or even understand it for itself. I've noticed what some would call synchronicities a lot more recently than I've had previously. It could, of course, be because I'm paying a lot more attention to it. In the last couple of years, I've paid a lot more attention to what's going on in the world, paid a lot more attention on what's going on with the world in terms of economics and politics, and I'd say even so much culture. The culture being particularly fascinating to me. I am having this great come to life experience with culture right now. I see it all over. I see the differences, and not so much even in terms of different people from different countries, but also people within the same countries who have different religious backgrounds, different political backgrounds, or even economic backgrounds, all over the place. So much so, I would say you could be any of those things as well as be of a different sex, and it's a completely different experience. There is a lot of beauty in that to me. It puts everything as these puzzle pieces that you could put together. But going to the synchronicities themselves, I find it funny how when certain things are being pushed in terms of solar energy in the United States, there's this push for the Green New Deal. A lot of homes are, pushed, especially if they're new homes, to have solar panels on them. There's a big push to having electric cars, and simultaneously, there's this whole thing going on with the economy and the prices of houses. Now, of course, you could say that's the market talking. It's normal. All these things are normal processes that we're used to. It becomes kind of weird to me that it happens at the same time when you have these big social changes and political changes. I believe, at least to some degree, that these social changes, in terms of what we believe as the current generation, especially for young people, we want to better preserve the earth. The funny thing is, I don't think it's so much because the younger generation wants to preserve the earth that much. I believe it's just because they think that's what's morally correct, or they just see it as just a blank thing, like, oh, this is great, taking care of the earth, you know? We love the earth. This is where we live. They don't necessarily understand the repercussion that has to do with, on a global scale, especially with economics. You want solar panels here, another country somewhere else has to die for it. But that's a whole other argument. What that has to do with synchronicities is how this same phenomenon, in one way or not necessarily for solar panels, is happening for other countries. And some places it could be, how the culture goes about, where they live. And they live from going from the city to a more rural area. That's not just happening in America, but it's happening a lot more in other places that people want to just leave the city. People that are leaving more rural areas and are deciding to live more in the countryside. Since a lot of people that are outside of the United States already kind of live that life where the countryside is not too far away, they're already used to living in ways where they don't have as much luxury or they don't have as much utilities such as air conditioning, or central cooling, washing machines and stuff. They do all that stuff by hand anyways. It's not a big deal for them for moving from the city to, like somewhere that's more rural. You see synchronicities in terms of different cultures. There's a big shift happening where you have more and more videos that are coming out that say, oh, these people were oppressed, these people were not. But then, yes, of course, they were oppressed as well by someone else in the past. And it comes to the clear indication that every group of people, every country, every race or sex has been oppressed in one way or another by someone somewhere, sometime in history. And the way that we feel towards a certain group right now, they may say, oh, they were suffering or they've been taken advantage of this way. And they're like, oh, wait, us as well, them as well. Doesn't necessarily balance out, most likely not, but it really gives perspective to the common person, especially with the technology that's going on right now. So, in terms of wars, you can see that there are several wars in the last, I'd say, maybe 50 years between what happened all over the Middle East, what's going on in the European, front, not just right now at Russia, but ever since I guess fucking Kosovo or maybe even before that, Vietnam, all in the Asian area countries. It is what it is. Very often, when in history you see a particular area that has this amount of turmoil, there's a big change that happens. Now, perhaps for the first time, not putting all my belief on that, but it just seems that way to me. You're seeing this phenomenon on a global scale where it seems that the whole thing all over the planet is going through some crazy shit as we speak. And this is leading towards global change. I believe that this global change is going to be ultimately for the better. I think a lot of people, it seems, are quote unquote waking up. There's also a technological boom. Particularly right now, it's AI. A lot of people are afraid of what this means. A lot of people are not afraid of what this means, but they're afraid of what's going to happen economically and how certain aspects of life are going to change. And I pointed out to this a little bit before in previous videos, but here in particular, it goes along with the technological booms in terms of how things change after all this conflict, but also for the progress of what happens after. And what I'm trying to say is, I believe that with this technological boom, this huge increase of all the things that are going to change, human beings are going to change psychologically. I think that we're going to change psychologically so much, we're going to evolve in what might be in a different direction than we might have previously projected. It's great to the point that there might be even human beings that develop in different directions, where some that embrace the technology evolve a certain way psychologically and perhaps even to the point that they change physically, and other groups of people do not. And they perhaps don't evolve psychologically or physically at all, or they just have a different type of psychological evolution that happens on that front. That remains to be seen. When it comes to perhaps some type of greater cosmic reality, the way that we think about things and the way that we think about the earth, perhaps we're going to get to the point that we no longer think about the earth as the earth that we're trying to save with, green energy and everything, but now we're going to think about our solar system, harnessing energy not just in solar, but, solar being what it is, and gas being what it is, and there's wind, electromagnetism, heat energy. There's a lot of people talking about alternatives for electrical cars. Some people, of course, are going to push for higher public transportation where you don't need as many cars, but a lot more public transportation so that it becomes easier. And different people from different cultures, different ways that they think, are going to move and displace themselves towards where psychologically they are. And it's going to give like it's like how can I put that? Like you're dealing a new hand, like you're playing poker, you're playing Go Fish, whatever game that you play that you have to do a whole, reshuffling of the cards and spread the cards all around, and everybody has different cards. People who believe in public transportation is the solution, and that they're really stuck psychologically with what they want to do with that. They're going to move to an area that they have that, for example, what others do not. And right now, in particular, for many of you who are in the United States, I imagine, who may perhaps fall into this video, as we speak, lots of people are moving from one place to another because of either, or right now, probably in particular, political beliefs or social beliefs. Right now, the case would be for um, how they think about the police, or on the other side, what they think about abortion. You can probably make the next set of calculations for yourself. There really is no telling. So it's very easy for me to say, yeah, I think that people are gonna do all this stuff because that's pretty much what they're doing right now. The little thing I want to add on top, not that I believe I can tell the future or anything like that, is just perhaps even wishful thinking. People, perhaps because they have no choice at this point, moving in directions where they can vote with their wallet, for lack of better words. They're gonna vote with their feet, again, for lack of better words. They're gonna go somewhere where they can pay for what they want, live where they want, and the things that they want are gonna be in this location. And if you don't want these things, you can go somewhere else. Everyone gets to make their choice. And though it can be argued that a lot of freedoms are being taken away from individuals, I see what's going on right now as proof that human beings are freer than they've ever been compared to much of the history of their past. And as that freedom keeps coming, as you know, synchronicities keep showing up, we can move towards greater levels of consciousness. And that might be, part of another video. I don't want to go on a whole ramble on consciousness right now. Lastly, if I were to give a message that's more direct when it comes to all of this, take the opportunity. Take the opportunity to take hold of your life and make the choices towards what you want and forget about being stuck with where you are right now. If you don't take the opportunity now where all of this is happening and everyone else is making these choices and you're not, you're going to be left behind. I'm not being an alarmist about this. I think I'm just kind of trying to point that this is the time where a lot of this is also creating a situation that people are a lot more free to live out their dreams and do the things that they want to do. In a sense that if everybody knew that a month from now the world would just explode, like a meteor would hit the earth or some crazy nonsense like that, wouldn't pretty much everyone just be doing all the stuff that they always wanted to do? And as many people on the YouTube or whatever have said already, what's stopping you from doing a lot of this stuff right now? Besides like either your attachments that you might have. Even some people might say, hey, I can't just leave my job. If I go do whatever I want, then I could never come back to my job. And I understand that. I know that that's true. Some of you, of course, might be stuck to your jobs to the point that you cannot leave because you wouldn't be able to get another job somewhere else. But for a lot of people, it would seem the vast majority, since they either are doing part-time jobs or they're going from job to job or they have no real attachments to a company because they've only been there for like a couple months and they live that kind of life anyways. What's to stop you from, you know, quitting your job or leaving your job right now since you're not going to stay anyways and going somewhere else? Maybe I'm being a little bit too optimistic. Once again, I know it's not the case for everyone. It's by far easier said than done, but I can't imagine being in a position that I am, as well as the position that a lot of people are telling me that they are in their own respects, that right now would not be the best time to do all of that. Good luck to you all out there, if ever you stumble upon this. And perhaps even tell me a little bit of what you've seen.